Welcome into another episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, the real underscore G Warner on Twitter. Thank you for tuning in as always. Whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It would be really helpful to me. If you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe. That would be great as well. I think that we have, nope, of course, never have the exact mics we're looking for that are on. My bad, but we're about to get started. Today, we're going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues, all with normal schedules, as far as I know, this weekend. I don't think there's any cup stuff in the way, which is great. One less thing for me to worry about as I tried to finish off another bout with COVID. Sorry for anyone listening, but hopefully the nasally thing will be gone after this. Of course, as always, I'll throw up a ultimate best bet section at the end of the show, just to pick a top pick from each of the leagues I cover, and then also to pick one of them and live or die by that in the Twitterverse. All lines quoted in this podcast are courtesy of betonline.ag, my favorite place to get my bets down early. Reduced juice is offered on almost every game you want to bet right up until game time. Please follow the link found in this podcast description to fund your account and use the promo code GW50 to receive a 50% match bonus up to $1,000. So also end of show, we'll give a promo code for pregame.com. I know a lot of you have been following up on there. I appreciate that support. It's pretty much a way to get my card overnight, so you know what's coming, so you don't have to worry or wait or see what happens in the flurry of tweets that come out on match day. So we're going to start, as always, in the Premier League. We do not have a Friday match, which is good for any of you playing FPL. You got a little bit longer, but we'll start with Man City hosting Newcastle. Currently Manchester City, a 1.25 goal favorite. Over-unders 2 3/4. Got a lot of juice on the Newcastle side and also a little bit more juice to the over. Newcastle, likely without Nick Pope. I think he's still suspended for this matchup after his crazy red card against Liverpool. Still believe the Newcastle defense, and it looks like Martin Dubravka will probably be the starter here. I don't think anyone wants anything to do with Lloris ever since his loss of confidence, since whatever mistakes he made for a Liverpool team in a Champions League final, I want to say. Man City with a good result last weekend against Bournemouth, but were handed goals on the silver platter. I don't expect Newcastle to do that sort of thing. So I'm interested in Newcastle. Should have a pretty big traveling fan base. I mean, one thing you can't deny about Newcastle is that they have a lot of support. Man City can score a ton of goals when they're right and when they're handed things on a silver platter. I think Newcastle will be really, really stiff defensively. Certainly some concern about the goalkeeper position. Dubravka with one of the most hilarious mistakes, I think, going back to Euro 2020, played in 2021, and really hasn't played too much, but couldn't play in the cup final because he had played in the cup for Manchester United, their eventual opponents, before he came back from loan. I think strongest lean here is Newcastle under 2 3/4. I don't necessarily love the side. I think the goalkeeper matters a lot, and I like the idea of getting an additional goal and a half from the goal spread by taking the total. So I'll give you Newcastle under 2 3/4 as my interest in that one. Arsenal then hosts Bournemouth. Currently, Arsenal a 1 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Over under is 3, juice to the under as we speak. I think the strongest lean here is under 3. Bournemouth going to have to respond to that poor performance last week. I expect them to do better. Arsenal had to play midweek, got the game in hand out of the way, and got 3 points against Everton, though a 4-0 scoreline is completely misleading. 2 really crazy goals end of the half after Everton, I thought, outplayed Arsenal, at least in their the style or strategy to nullify. Big mistake, I think, by James Tarkowski telling his teammate to relax on the ball. Which then it got stolen, scored for the second goal, and that pretty much killed the game, killed the under that I played, and a lot of things related to that. Still not a believer in Arsenal getting through or over the hump without some tragedy coming up. Certainly could be something that they end up proving that they're mature enough. I just don't see it just yet. I just don't know that Bournemouth are a side I expect to score. They're going to sit in and try to defend. So that third goal of insurance on the total is certainly useful here. I am a little bit worried about Bournemouth going on the road. If I lost at 3, I will not be interested, but we'll see what happens there. Brighton then hosts West Ham. Currently, Brighton a 3/4 goal favorite. All the juice on West Ham on the road. Over unders 2.5. West Ham played, I thought, fairly well against Manchester United. Gave up a late, lost on a late goal in the 90th minute, and then fell apart after that and gave up another goal late. Brutal if you had West Ham, especially a +1. Even a bad beat if you had +3/4. I had the under. I felt like that was a good bet throughout. I don't know necessarily that I trust the West Ham offense at this point. So I think the strongest lean here for me is still West Ham under 2.5. Brighton didn't really, they also had an FA Cup match this week, got a victory, but really looked unimpressive against a lower league side. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of goals in this one, so under 2.5 looks good to me. Chelsea then hosts Leeds. Currently, Chelsea a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 2.5, juice to the over. Chelsea are still a really bad offense. I don't know if there's another way to put it. They don't look like they're going to score ever. That's a big deal when you're a home favorite. Certainly, they play better at home, and this is not a new problem for them, but Graham Potter has had struggles with scoring goals when he was at Brighton. Certainly different level of player here, and maybe they're making some progress, but I think Joao Felix is still banned. Not sure about that one, but we'll see if he's in the lineup. He's important and looked like one of the few light bringers to that side. Mohamed Mudryk is also an incredible player, but they're not going to have a ton of space. I think this is a very cut and dry. Leeds are going to shut up shop and try to stop you from scoring, far different than the way they played before. I think it's better for Leeds because they really don't have a lot of great goal scoring in that team, especially with all the injury concerns of Patrick Bamford, and he really hasn't even been playing much. Leeds did play midweek in the FA Cup. Chelsea did not, so that does give a little bit of a legs advantage to Chelsea. But I still don't know where we get 3 goals from. I think Leeds are very unlikely to score here. So I think Chelsea clean sheets, both teams not to score is interesting, though with how many penalties are given up, it's hard to even want to ever back that. But lean to under 2.5 in Leeds, Chelsea. Aston Villa then hosts Crystal Palace. Currently Villa a 0.5 goal favorite. Over unders 2.25, both with a juice to Crystal Palace on the road and to that under. Aston Villa with a tough season to handicap, changing managers, also a little bit weird. Had a really good result at Everton last weekend, got a second goal to really kill the tie, and that was a big deal for them. Still don't know that I trust Aston Villa defense, even with Unai Emery. It has not been anywhere near what I was expecting. Crystal Palace with a good result last week. Still don't trust them to score on the road. I think if anything, I lean to under 2.75 or under 2 and a single quarter here, 2.25. But it's very juiced right now at 2. I don't think I'm interested. And even at 2.25, I feel like there's been a lot of problems for these teams defensively. Don't see a lot of offense here, but I've kind of learned recently that 2 bad offenses can still score goals with VAR, offside decisions, big goalie or defender mistakes. So move on to the next. And that's Wolves hosting Tottenham. Currently Wolves a 1/4 goal underdog at home. Over unders 2.25, juice to the over. I'm interested in Wolves here. I thought they played really well against Liverpool for 70 minutes and then had a tough stretch, a debatable foul call that I think was a foul. And then that led to a set piece goal after a poor save from their goalkeeper. And then a bad pressing incident mistake with a slip and then getting caught out because they had just fallen behind. Don't know if that was a great moment for Julian Lopetegui, but I've trusted his work so far, and I feel like they've been better with him. And they get to host Tottenham, who are coming off an FA Cup loss to Sheffield United, which is really bad on the road. Didn't start Harry Kane, try to get away with it, did not work. I think it's going to be tough to score goals like in any Tottenham match. I think under 2.25 is also worth a look in this one. So home dog and under look good. I do worry a little bit about Wolves' legs. They played a pretty strong lineup at Liverpool, had to deal with Anfield, but then have to come back and play on Saturday. It's a really quick turnaround, though. Ultimately, I think Tottenham they both played on Wednesday. Now Tottenham have to go on the road, second straight match after Sheffield United, now to Wolves. Don't think it's a really quick trip from London or the where's Tottenham, the north side of London. Not a ton of travel in England. It's a small country, blah blah blah. But I do like the home team and the under. Southampton then hosts Leicester in the nightcap on Saturday. Don't know where they picked this one as the big one, but it's currently a pick'em, so it might be competitive at the very least. Leicester with a little bit more juice on the road. Over unders 2.5, juice to the under. Leicester are not an under team at this point for me. They're a team that can score goals, so that sometimes dries up. Their defense is still problematic, whereas Southampton, really poor loss in the cup midweek. Their legs are going to be zapped. Leicester, the poor loss in the cup midweek as well. Their legs are going to be zapped and on the road. St. Mary's is a good spot for Southampton. Really, the only place you can expect them to get points. I think I'm interested in Leicester. If they move to an underdog, I doubt that happens. And I don't know that under 2.5 is really that interesting to me. I guess if I had to pick something, that would be my lean. Next, we'll move to Sunday matches, and that is Nottingham Forest hosting Everton. Not a lot of offense expected in this one. Over-under is 2. I usually don't say that first, but that's, I think, the first 2 I've seen in the Premier League. Also looking at these numbers for the first time live, so getting all the best that I can put out there as we speak. Everton, I'm not interested in a pick 'em right now. All the juice, or pretty much all of it, is on Nottingham Forest at home. I don't even know if I really want to mess around with a quarter. And 2 feels very low to me, I got to say, for the total as well. So not sure there's a lot for me to do in that one. But I don't think there'll be a lot of goals. If that number climbs, as the over is a little bit more juice than the under, we'll see where it goes from there. And that'll be my eventual lean. Nightcap on Sunday is a big match. Liverpool hosting Manchester United, big derby. Liverpool currently a quarter goal favorite with all the juice on the road team, Manchester United. And I think that is deserved. Over-under is 3, which is pretty high for these teams. But Liverpool's defensive issues, shipping 5 goals after a 2-0 lead to Real Madrid, for example, who have not looked good in La Liga play or any play, really, besides maybe the Club World Cup. I'm going to have a hard time avoiding Manchester United here. Certainly the crowd will be huge at Anfield. It's going to be a tough spot. And this line is saying Manchester United is better on a neutral field. But I honestly feel like this one might close pick 'em. So I think I might even grab this sooner rather than later. I just think Manchester United have been playing so well. Played a rotated team in the FA Cup, survived late, came on, fell behind 1-0 on kind of a fluke goal that they thought was out of play over the touchline. Ended up getting 2 goals and a third to win in regulation, saved the legs from extra time. And I thought the Liverpool 2-0 win midweek was fraudulent, to put it that way. I think it should have been, at best, a 1-0, I think, or even might not have even deserved a first goal ultimately. Not a great feel for the total. Moving to Monday, we have Brentford hosting Fulham, which should be a good match. And actually very surprised. Brentford, a half a goal favor right now. All the juice currently on Fulham. But that's a gigantic number. Over-under is 2.5, juice to the over. Fulham have not looked like the same offense ever since Mitrovic was absent with the hamstring injury. He returned to FA Cup play midweek. A lot of money came in on Leeds against Fulham on the road on Leeds, which was also surprising. But Fulham got a win. I think it was deserved, played pretty well. I think Leeds showed pretty well, but Fulham are still a really good team. And I think their defense is really not given enough credit. Half a goal underdog on the road at Brentford seems really high, though Brentford have been scoring a fair amount of goals. I don't know that I trust them to score that much, and I feel like a half of a goal favorite is way too high for this matchup. So for my best bet, I'm going to go with Manchester United getting a quarter of a goal at Liverpool. It's probably not a shock that I'm not a big fan of Liverpool at this point. And I think Manchester United have been playing too well. Don't think that the fixture overload with how deep their squad is really going to cause a lot of problems. Now I'll move to La Liga. Currently Real Sociedad on Friday, a 1-goal favorite to Cadiz. Currently over-under is 2.25, very heavily juiced to the under. I like under here. I think Cadiz have been playing a lot better than really their reputation you'd expect. Real Sociedad's offense still leaves a little bit to be desired. I think their defense has been great, and I think Cadiz will have a lot of trouble trying to penetrate that. I think the Cadiz offense is a little bit better this season, and that's helped them a lot. I also feel like they're probably not one of the worst teams in La Liga and probably should stay in the league. So assuming they can get VAR decisions right and offside calls correct, which they did not against Elche. They cost them 2 points early in the season. I think it's going to be hard to get 3 goals in this matchup, so I lean to under 2.25. Moving to Saturday, Getafe hosting Girona, currently a pick 'em with a little more juice on the home team. Getafe over-under is 2, which is very low, but basically every Getafe match, you'll see a total like that at this point. Lean to under 2 there. No real feel for totals that are for the pick'ems, as I really only want to play home dogs with plus money at pick'em. Don't think Getafe will get there. Next, we'll move to Almeria hosting Villarreal. Currently, Almeria a half a goal underdog at home. Over unders 2.75, juiced heavily to the under. Almeria with a huge upset win against Barcelona. some kid I know in El Paso bet his hair on it and had to shave his head when Barcelona lost. Feel bad for the kid because I would have lost my hair too on that one if I haven't lost it enough from FA Cup matches this week. Just kidding, maybe not really. Villarreal with a good win on Monday, looked lifeless, fell behind Getafe at home. Manager is a joke. We'll see if Gerard Moreno plays. I feel like based on this number, it looks like he will start. If he doesn't, the Villarreal offense is extremely impaired. And really, it's however that team goes is with his health. If Gerard Moreno is starting at striker, Villarreal can score goals. If he is not there, they cannot score them. Their defense is problematic, and they've given up on the season, sold a bunch of players, and that's what happened when their manager left. So don't really like Villarreal. Almeria certainly have had big defensive issues, but at home, I think they're a little bit more Loctite, if you will. And I think it's a very juiced half of a goal right now, but I like the idea of fading Villarreal as a road favorite, and really don't think a comeback win against Getafe at home will change any sort of sentiment for me. Sentimientos, feelings in Espanol. Mallorca then hosts Elche. Currently Mallorca, a 3/4 goal favorite. Over under is 2, juice to the under. Monstrous favorite are Mallorca in this one. But when you play the worst team that's so far adrift in La Liga, who really got screwed from officiating, I felt like it's a bunch of 2 sending offs, I think, had a big lead against Real Betis and ended up losing in regulation. Awful story. And that's kind of what happens to you when you're bottom of the table, I guess. But where do Mallorca get 3 goals? I'm not sure. Where do Elche get 2? Or how do they combine for 3? It's hard to see. I think if anything, I'll lean to Elche getting 3/4 of a goal. I probably want a full 1, especially because I don't exactly remember who's suspended, but I do know one of their defensive starters, center backs, is suspended, which is actually great because he's horrible. Enzo Rocco should not be playing in La Liga, but I think that speaks to the problems that Elche have in personnel, that he plays as much as he does. Mallorca is a 3/4 goal favorite at home. It's just gigantic. So I'll lean to under there. I think that's probably the safest way to play anything, though, too. There's not a lot of safety, unfortunately, there. Atletico Madrid then hosts Sevilla in the nightcap on Saturday. Atleti, a 3/4 goal favorite. A little bit more of the juice. Over under is 2.25, juice to the under. Atleti, they're playing better. They're playing more Diego Simeone style. Does it make them a capable 3/4 goal favorite? I'm not sure. I think if anything, I want Sevilla to climb to a 1-goal underdog. But speaking of Sevilla, they've played a lot better ever since Sampoli took over, and they finally got some players into their squad. I think strongest lean here is a tough match that has a lot of possession in it, and I think I lean under 2.25. The Wanda will be tough. There's probably a good chance of a red card in this matchup anytime Atleti play. It doesn't seem to matter if it's at home or on the road. They make big tackles, physical stuff. They make big mistakes. They elbow people in the solar plexus, like at Real Madrid last week. Somehow that stayed under, even though it looked dead under until the red card to Angel Correa. So he'll not be there, which does zap a pretty important scoring option that I don't think gets enough credit in the Atleti side. And I just don't think Angel Correa plays enough for how much he contributes. But leaned it under 2.25. I'm not sure it's the strongest lean I got, but it's one. Valladolid then hosts Espanyol on Sunday. Valladolid, a pick'em with all the juice right now, likely climbing to 1/4 goal. And Valladolid have won a couple matches late. They built up their squad, but Darwin Machi is one of their important entrants who's done so well in La Liga over the years. He's injured. I'm not sure if he'll be back for this one. I think if anything, I'm looking at Espanyol. If they climb to 1/4, it's not there yet. Also, over under is 2.25, juice to the under. And I like the under. I just don't think Valladolid have a great offense. Their defense had been done really well. Was not great last weekend. Espanyol still don't really have a healthy Joselu. I'm not sure if he's back and available for this one. Without him, the Espanyol offense looks really, really shady. I got to say, they got to win against Mallorca, but I think it was 1-0 last weekend. I don't see a lot of goals in this matchup, so under 2.25 looks good to me there. Barcelona then hosts Valencia. Currently, Barca 1-goal favorite. Over under is 2.75, juice the under. Great Copa del Rey result for Barcelona, winning at the Stadio Bernabeu. Not sure it was a dominant effort, lowest possession they've had in a decade or something like that, at only 35%. But now they get Valencia, who are fighting relegation and are in trouble. I think if anything, I lean under 2.75 here. It's hard to say that with a Barcelona side, especially at home at Camp Nou, but There have been very few goals scored in Barcelona matches. They're winning La Liga because they don't concede. No idea where that came from. But seeing Lewandowski not playing midweek, a lot of other injuries they're dealing with. No Pedri, Gavi's in there, and I think Gavi's actually suspended for this matchup, which is great because then he won't be on a yellow card, risking a red card like he is every week. But I think under 2 3/4 looks the most interesting to me. It's very juiced at the moment, but it's hard to argue with Barcelona's results defensively. And Valencia are not likely to do much offensively. They're going to try to counterattack, and they don't really have a capable offense for that, I don't think. Rayo Vallecano then hosts Athletic Club. Currently, Rayo a quarter goal underdog at home. Over-unders 2. Juice to the over. I love Rayo as a home underdog. I don't know what more to say than that. Athletic Club were a road favorite also in Copa del Rey midweek. Really did nothing offensively the entire day. No, thank you. I'm going to back Rayo. I don't want to lose the quarter of a goal at home. So I'm going to watch this one closely to see if the juice might get a little bit better before this kicks off. I don't really love playing playing minus 125, paying that type of juice. Over is juiced pretty heavily too. So I want to watch that one and see if it climbs to 2.25. Like getting odds on 2 right now, but I'm not sure I want to play it just yet. Nightcap on Sunday, Real Betis host Real Madrid. Currently Betis a 3/4 goal underdog at home with a lot of juice. Over-unders 2.5, juice the over as well. Hard for me to look away from the home dog here, I got to say. I think the Real Madrid story, it's not over, but it's looked ugly. I don't think that's going to change. Real Betis got a really good comeback win last week, played Friday night, so they've got a long time till Sunday. Should be very loud and energetic at the Santiago Villamarin. I think I'm saying that right. No, Benito Villamarin. There we go. I went to it. Should remember it. Got a cigarette thrown at me. Should remember it well. Over under, I think I lean under here, but I'm not sure that I feel that great about it. I just don't think that either of these offenses have done that much. I think I like the side actually better than the total, which a lot of times I'm going the other way. But I think 2.5 also is kind of big for a La Liga match at this point. Real Madrid have not been scoring or doing much besides the trip to Anfield. Monday, we have Osasuna hosting Celta de Vigo. Currently, Osasuna a pick'em, a little bit more juice. Over-under is 2, juice the over. And Osasuna went all out for a home match in the Copa del Rey. I think, if anything, I'm leaning to Celta if they climb to something higher than the pick'em that I'm currently seeing. And I lean to under. I still don't believe that either of these two teams are great at scoring goals. But it's been a little bit better for Celta Vigo lately, and they had a really good result last weekend. Whether it was deserved or not is a whole nother story. For my best bet for Spain, I'm going to go Rayo plus a quarter of a goal at home against Athletic Club. I think that number is silly and might change. If you like it as well, you might want to get on that now. Moving to Italy for Serie A, we have Napoli hosting Lazio. Napoli killing everybody right now, but only a 3/4 goal favorite at home on this Friday match as I record Friday morning. Current over under is 2.5, juice slightly to the over, juice the over, whatever. Napoli are great. I'm not fading them with Lazio. I'm not interested in that. I feel like over, if anything, is my interest. I feel like that one seems a little bit smaller of a total than I think it should be. But I don't know that it's going to make my card because Lazio have been playing better defense or really not scoring. That combo doesn't help. I feel like if I want to play an over in this sport where there's no overtime or extra time beyond the 4 or 5 minutes that they add on, I think I want two teams that don't care about playing defense. And I think both these teams are trying to win. Monza then hosts Empoli on Saturday morning. Currently Monza a quarter goal favorite with all the juice right now. Over under is 2.25. Also juice the over. Monza was a pretty silly road favorite last weekend, missed the start, and of course did not bet it. Very disappointing. But Empoli are I think they're going to cause some problems. Monza have been on the front foot, aggressive attacking team, which is huge of the newly promoted coming up from Serie B, but it's worked for them so far. Goals have dried up a little bit lately. I think Empoli can cause some problems for them scoring, for Monza to score. And I also think Empoli have a little bit more in their attack as of recently than they had previous in the year. And that was a big kind of change from them from last year where they were a free scoring team. Over under, I feel like could see some goals here. I don't necessarily feel that comfortable, but certainly be looking to see if Empoli climb to half of a goal. Atalanta then hosts Udinese. Atalanta, a 3/4 goal favorite with a lot of juice right now. Over under is 2.5. Also juice the over. I thought Udinese played a little bit better last week, but still aren't anywhere near flying what they were before the World Cup. Atalanta, not a really good performance. Haven't really been playing well for a while. Feels like if Udine climbed to a 1-goal underdog, I'd be a little bit more interested, but I'm not interested yet. Probably not interested in a total. Atalanta haven't been scoring as much this year, but they do have a lot of potent offense in that team. Nightcap on Saturday is Fiorentina hosting AC Milan. Currently, Fiorentina a pick'em right now at home. All the juice on Milan on the road might be climbing to a quarter goal favorite on the road. Over unders 2.25. Juice to the over. Milan's defense has been really good. I feel like Fiorentina really have been going over the total in a lot of their matches, and it's not really felt like it was deserved whatsoever. But I probably should not ignore that. I do like under 2.25 in that one. Not much for me to do at pick 'em right now. But I don't really want to bet Fiorentina, as I don't like them and don't think their crowd or home field advantage means much. Moving to Sunday, Spezia hosts Verona. Currently Spezia a pick 'em, a little bit more juice. Over unders 2.25, juice to the under. Verona have I thought played really well. If they had any capable scoring up top from Kevin Lasagna, the most apropos Serie A pasta name possible, but he can't score whatsoever. Is all the speed and none of the finishing, and that really cost Verona. They weren't able to get an equalizer as a home underdog. I think it was to Fiorentina on Monday, and then fell apart and lost big time, including conceding one of the worst goals on a quick restart from midway half court. I was going to say, sorry, college basketball in the mind. But that also set the match over the total. So if you had under there, brutal loss. But welcome to soccer betting. I think that's just how it goes. Pick up, not much for me to do there. Over under at 2.25 feels a little low for this matchup. Verona have not been playing great after coming out of the blocks from the World Cup, playing really well. We'll see if they can kind of turn that around. Sampdoria then hosts Salernitana. Currently Samp a quarter goal favorite right now. Over unders 2.25, slightly juiced to the under. I like Salernitana. Their effort last week, it didn't come easily. They had a bunch of missed chances, but Sampdoria have looked like a real troublesome side right now. I don't know how they win matches currently as a quarter goal favorite. That's saying they're about even with Salernitana. Both are kind of in peril and will be trying to fight relegation this whole time. I like the road team off a good result, though, and really like the idea of fading Sampdoria as a favorite. Next, we'll go Inter Milan hosting Lecce. Currently, Inter a 1.5 goal favorite. All the juice on Lecce right now. Over unders 2.5. Juice to the over. I think my only lean is to Lecce here, though. And they did play a really tight match earlier in the year at Lecce. I feel like Lecce choked one up late, I want to say, if I remember correctly. That was a long time ago. Over under 2.5. I think Inter, they're still not a great offense, but they score goals that they really shouldn't. That is a mark of good teams, that they score goals from low XG opportunities. I think that's a good sign, though, to be against them. So Lecce getting 1.5 is my interest there. Going to San Siro, tough place to play. Trying to hang around, only lose by a goal is a lot to ask. Unfortunately, once you go down by one, you have to change your game plan. So it's really about how long can I take a lead, or how long can Lecce keep Inter Milan off the board. I do like 2.5 as a total, though, because that's not expecting a ton of goals. Roma then hosts Juve in a big one on Sunday. Roma currently a slight favorite at Pick'em, which is a little bit surprising to me. I thought Juve would be the favorite here, at least more juice at Pick'em. Not yet a quarter goal underdog. I think that's something I'll be waiting for on Juventus. Over unders 2, juice to the over. And don't really expect a lot of goals here, but Juve have been going over a fair amount. Had a pretty high scoring matchup with Torino in the Torino Derby last week, or midweek, it felt like, because they played on Tuesday, I want to say. I think Roma played Monday against Cremonese, struggled with them per usual. I like Juve. I want to see them climb to an underdog, though. It would be a little bit surprising to me, though, because I kind of expect Juve to end up closing with the more juice on Pick'em, if not a favorite. But we'll be watching. Sassuolo then hosts Cremonese on Monday. Currently, Sassuolo half a goal favorite with all the juice right now. Over unders 2.5, juice to the under. Cremonese have been playing better, but still a really hard team to trust at this point. Sassuolo have been playing great, and I think they get a win here at home. I don't know that I really feel anything for a total, because Sassuolo can score, Cremonese can't. Makes me lean under, if anything, but I feel like I'm trying to reduce my underplays unless I really like an underdog as well, and I'm not sure I do with Cremonese only at a half goal underdog right now. Last one on Monday, we've got a 2-pack is Torino hosts Bologna. Torino with a really tough result. They're back in there looking good, but not scoring enough. And then their defense makes some big mistakes or just concedes, as most defenses do. Bologna have been playing well. I got to say, I was against them for a little while. They turned it on ever since a kind of the World Cup break where things weren't looking great, but they've done a lot better. New managers, maybe Thiago Motta, former Spezia manager, who I think is more of an offensive guy. He's trying to bring some offensive Bologna, which has been missing that for a long time. I think ultimately it's been better lately, and they're the side I want, getting a quarter of a goal at Torino. More juice right now, so maybe we lose that. Over unders 2, juice the over. Likely climbing, but I don't know where the goals come from necessarily. I feel like goalless is possible here, but Bologna, I feel like, are just as likely to score as Torino right now based on the current form. For my best bet for Italy, I'm going to go with Salernitana getting a quarter of a goal from Sampdoria. Just two bad teams, and one team is favored and must win to take your money. And I just don't necessarily see that the home team is any more likely to win than the road team. Should be a good crowd, but the crowd's been lacking or disappointed is another way to put it. Moving to Germany for the Bundesliga, we have Borussia Dortmund hosting RB Leipzig. Currently, Dortmund, a quarter goal favorite at home. Over under is 3, juice the under. A little bit smaller of a line than I expected, but it's respect for Leipzig, and I certainly agree with it because, I mean, fighting back to get a draw against Man City at home was a big deal, especially after getting pretty well controlled in the first half. Dortmund are leading the league, tied with Bayern Munich right now. But I don't think their plays deserved it. They've won every match they've played, I think, since the new year began. How much of that was deserved, I'm not sure. Helpful that their schedule has been easy, but ultimately this is a big test for them. I think Leipzig can go in there and win. Wouldn't be shocked if that happened. It's probably less likely, and I think the spread kind of suggests that. 3 also feels like a little bit high to me. Leipzig are going to, as always, control the center of the pitch and cause a lot of problems for Dortmund in there, plus running at their defense and trying to cause some issues, which Dortmund's defense does not have a lot of trouble getting. The Schwarzgelben, meanwhile, are going to use the yellow wall, try to build up a big kind of push as they go also to try to hold on to a Champions League lead advantage next week. Big week coming up for both, especially for Dortmund. I think it's going to be a tough match for him, though. Moving to Saturday, Borussia Mönchengladbach hosting Freiburg. Currently, Borussia Mönchengladbach a pick'em with all the juice right now. Over unders 2 3/4, juice to the under. Gladbach have looked terrible. What an awful showing last weekend. Or last Friday against Mainz. Goalkeeper got hurt. Backup goalkeeper Sippel is an absolute joke. If he's starting, I think I'll play Freiburg at pick'em at even odds. Until then, I don't think I will do that. Can't lean to anything with the total. We'll see if Omlin plays, but even then, he's had some problems in his past from coming over from Montpellier in Ligue 1. Freiburg have not looked great, I'll admit. They were in a much better position to catch Bayer Leverkusen on short rest and tired legs last week and didn't really take advantage of it at home. But I do trust in Christian Streich, and Freiburg have dominated this team in the past. I think they were up 6-0 last year when they went to Gladbach. Wouldn't be shocked. I mean, would be shocked on that sort of thing, but wouldn't be shocked if Freiburg get a win here on the road. Augsburg then host Werder Bremen. Currently, Augsburg a quarter goal favorite. All the juice on Werder Bremen right now. Over unders 2 3/4, juice to the under. I lean to Werder Bremen at this point. They've not had a great run since the World Cup break. Part of maybe the first season syndrome and going into the break doing well, but also really outperforming their expected goals. We're not sure if that's going to continue to happen. I think Augsburg with an underdog on the road at Hertha Berlin were irresistible for me to bet. Just Hertha as a favorite. I think our team I'm going to bet against every time. But it started snowing. They gave up a goal from outside the box on a corner kick after a recycle, and then kind of fell apart from there. I still don't. Augsburg have had a great home record this year. How much do I believe in that? I'm not sure, including, I think, a big win over Bayern Munich. But I mean, they do that every year, and they still are barely staying in the league. They don't really fight relegation, it seems, and this is a spot for them to get some more points at home. I just don't really trust the Augsburg offense whatsoever. Werder Bremen's defense is problematic, but has gotten healthier recently, assuming Marco Friedel and his crew are still around. I'm into Werder Bremen getting that quarter of a goal. And I don't know necessarily where 3 goals come from in this matchup either. I think both these teams really struggle to score. That might be a bit of a stronger lean for me, is under 2 3/4. Mainz then hosts Hoffenheim. Currently Mainz half a goal favorite. Split juice right now, -110 both ways. Over under is 2 3/4, juice to the over. I don't know where goals come from this one. Hoffenheim are like in big trouble fighting relegation right now. Like, I don't even want to put them on my list of leans because they are really struggling to score goals. And when you don't struggle or you don't score goals, your defense is impaired or gets impacted by that. It's just not a great time, especially because Hoffenheim were expected to be in the European chase. And it's amazing how quickly things can turn. Mainz, on the other hand, have no real offense, but they showed against Gladbach. They scored 4 goals basically from their press, and they're really physical. They're going to beat you up. Set piece team for sure. But I think seeing them as a half goal favorite is gigantic. I just don't know that I can back Hoffenheim with nothing going right for them as we speak. Hard to turn that around. I don't really want to pay to see it. I guess I lean under 2 3/4 if anything, but sheesh, that is not a great feeling or a ringing endorsement. I'll put it that way. Union Berlin then hosts Köln. FC currently a half a goal underdog on the road at Union. Over under is 2 1/4, juiced to the under pretty heavily. If anything, that's the way I lean. Union have such a great home field advantage. They can turn things around also at home, which I think is something to think about. I think the under 2 1/4 looks interesting. It's pretty expensive at the moment. But there's not a lot of goals in either of these two teams. Cologne want to press you up top. Union Berlin want to sit back and defend. Union have proven that they can do that. They didn't do great against Bayern Munich last weekend, but also were coming off advancing in the Europa League, which is like the most historic thing that they've probably achieved at that club. Still at the top of the table, 3rd place, I think, right now. Cologne looking up at them, trying to change around a season that hasn't gone great for them. Don't see a lot of goals in that matchup, so lean under there. Bochum then hosts Schalke. Big battle at the bottom of the table. Bochum currently a quarter goal favorite. Over under is 2.5. Juice the under. A lot of juice in Schalke on the road as well. Schalke with, incredible run, unbeaten in 4, kind of came out of nowhere. It's a little bit of a weird juxtaposition here as Schalke have been really good defensively. Bochum have been awful defensively on the road, but have been a lot better at home. A lot of times, I think, because they score the goals as opposed to conceding them. And there have been some lopsided matches for Bochum at home, including a 5-2 against Hoffenheim, which did feel a little bit more concerning than that final scoreline would suggest, because I think I had Bochum in that matchup at home. Schalke have been playing great defense, so hard for me to look away from an under 2.5. Considering a lot of their matches have been goalless, 4 straight goalless draws until a 2-1 last week. And it should have been a cover and an under for Schalke, which would have helped my account both ways. But a big goalkeeping mistake from Ralph Fahnemann, who'd been really good and honestly should be in there over Alexander Schwolo, despite the money that Schwolo is getting paid. He just doesn't perform, and really one of the best sales Freiburg has made. But back to this one, I think Bochum are still tough to trust at home. I think Schalke are going to go in there and fight really hard. I'm a little bit worried about being too aggressive, but I think a goalless is possible here. So that makes me lean to Schalke, who are on a run of form, to say the least. Also to the under. It's going to be a tough place to play. Bochum's crowd is great. Kind of a derby here, both teams in West Germany, in a pretty similar region, Gelsenkirchen and also Bochum. I like both sides in that one. I guess I like the side in Schalke, and I like the under. Try not to get away from my interest in backing Bochum at home, but it hasn't been the same for them lately, and they've been struggling. Nightcap on Saturdays, 2 really famous teams in Germany, as I take a sip of water. Stuttgart, a 1 1/4 goal underdog at home. Over under is 3 1/4 to Bayern Munich. A little bit more juice on Bayern as road favorites, and also to the under, surprisingly. Stuttgart's manager, Bruno Labbadia, said he can't defend with his team. They have to attack at all times. That's not a great sign for anything more than an over, I would say, and definitely not to an underdog, though Bayern's looked a little bit wobbly. They do have PSG coming up midweek. I still don't know necessarily that I'm interested in the Stuttgart home dog. I think if anything over 3 1/4, though, I'm not really in that business, as anyone who listens to this podcast will know. Moving to Sunday, Bayer Leverkusen, a 1 goal favorite right now to Hertha Berlin. Over under is 2 3/4, just the over. I can't back Hertha. I'm only a team I want to go against. Certainly have shown in their play, got a big win last weekend, and have played a lot better than the results have deserved. Or have given them. They deserve better than the results have been, but I don't believe in it. Hertha's defense is problematic. Bayer Leverkusen have started to look a little bit better. They've been playing a lot of matches. Europe has certainly helped them to make their offense look better because they have more matches to impress than a normal team. But think Erta hanging within a goal seems a little short to me. I feel like this was 1.25 when I was guessing it, and probably should climb to that before this kicks off, but it doesn't look like that based on the juice right now. And last but not least, we'll go to Wolfsburg hosting Eintracht Frankfurt. It's currently Wolfsburg a pick'em right now with all the juice. Over unders 2.5, juice the over. I lean to Frankfurt on the road. I do know that they have Schalke midweek, and that's a concern. Not Schalke. Napoli midweek Champions League, but they have a 2-0 deficit there. We know Kolo Muani's going to play in this one because he's suspended from the Champions League after a red card. Seemed really soft to me, in my humble opinion. But Wolfsburg not looked great lately. Got a good win against Cologne last weekend, but I think it was Cologne. But I'm not sure that they were really that impressive ultimately. I think as a favorite to Eintracht, when Eintracht are going to sit back, counterattack, and have shown that they can make that work in Europe in the Bundesliga. I think Wolfsburg are not necessarily playing well enough to be a favorite in that way. I feel like Mickey van de Ven, their center back, saves a lot of things with his pace, which is really unexpected. When you look at him, he doesn't look fast, but I'm just not sure that Wolfsburg have been playing well enough for me to look away from backing Frankfurt, despite having Napoli coming up. It's a big deficit they have to overcome to one of the best teams in Europe on the road in southern Italy. I don't know necessarily that they believe that they can do it. I think they're going to take this Bundesliga match seriously, especially because they're at the top of the table. And if Wolfsburg climb to a favorite here of a quarter goal, I think I'm very interested in backing Frankfurt on Sunday. For my best bet for this one in Germany, I'm going to go with the Werder Bremen under 2.75. I feel like just really hard to see. I mean, there's probably going to be a bunch of defensive issues here. I'll put it that way. But Augsburg, I just don't trust the score as a favorite at home to trust them either. It's a lot to get the 3 goals in a match that they're playing. Now I'll move last but not least to Ligue 1 before we get into the ultimate best bet portion of the show. And of course, I got a pregame.com promo code coming for you, which can actually get you 20% off everything that I have for college basketball, as well as we're entering into the big best time of the year, March, my favorite month. So Nice hosts Angers today, Friday, March 3rd. Nice currently a 3/4 goal favorite with almost all the juice. Over-unders 2.25 with almost all the juice. Angers have been playing a lot better. They're trying to make a stand to stay in the league. Problem is they're running into Nice, who have been super hot. And I think if anything, I lean under 2.25 in this one. Though Nice's offense has been great lately, that certainly puts some pause into that lean. Moving to Saturday, 2 matches. Lens hosting Lille. Currently Lens a 1/4 goal favorite at home. Over-unders 2.5. Juice to the over. I like Lille quite a bit. Lens coming off a cup loss with no crowd on the road at Nantes due to fireworks issues from the Coupe de France last year. Pretty disappointing loss there, I got to say. Pretty disappointed by Lens' offense in general. They did give up 2 penalties. So that was pretty brutal. One goalkeeper, big mistake. Another questionable call, to say the least. But when they give penalties now, they don't overturn them. It's ridiculous and definitely killed my under. Hard to win an under 2.5 when there are 2 penalties given the other way, or just given in general. I like Lille getting a 1/4 goal. Didn't play midweek. We're out of the cup from losing on penalties to Lyon last round, so they should be well rested. I like that 1/4 goal. I might grab it before I lose it. PSG hosts Nantes. Currently PSG a 1.5 goal favorite with more of the juice. Over under is 3. Juice the over. PSG have Bayern Munich midweek. They might have some look to that. Nantes are just like trying their best, but got a big win in Coupe de France. Despite playing a lot of reserves, more than I was hoping for, but still went under. So, penalties just kill you, especially on totals. I think it's going to be a tough match for Nantes going on the road to the Parc des Princes. Ultimately, PSG are looking ahead to the Champions League. You might see some rotation or early substitutions here. That certainly plays into Nantes' hands. I'm not sure it's enough for me to want to get involved in that 1.5, but I'll be watching this one to see if it climbs higher. Lean to under 3. That might be a little bit safer, but PSG unders are very scary. I'll put it that way. Moving to Sunday, Stade Troyes host Monaco. Currently Troyes a 1 goal underdog at home. All the juice on Monaco on the road. Over under is 3. Juice to the under. Troyes have not been playing well. Pretty cut and dry. Monaco can score goals. I don't really like that matchup. Don't really like total here because Troyes' defense has been pretty bad at times. Strasbourg then hosts Brest. Currently, Strasbourg a half a goal favorite. Over unders 2.25 juice to the over. Strasbourg are playing better, but this line does not make sense to me. I thought a quarter, and I think it was struggling to get to a quarter. Stade Brestois, they're a good counterattacking team. They nearly beat Lille, I think it was on Friday last week. Got a lot of rest going into this one. They're in the relegation fight and saw some battles at the end of the match last week. I do need to check on suspensions that might play into this a little bit. But Strasbourg, I still don't trust them scoring goals. Habib Dahl has been better lately, but they're still a team that are in the relegation fight as well. And I think those nerves make this half a goal spread seem pretty high. Montpellier hosts Angers. Currently, Montpellier half a goal favorite at home. Over under is 2.5. Juice to the under. Montpellier have a really bad defense, but they can score goals. Angers have nothing and look like they're bottom of the league, going down for sure. I do have an interest betting against Montpellier, though, as sick as I sound, besides the COVID part, being interested in betting against Montpellier. But Angers make it really hard to do it. We'll see if this number climbs. As it climbs more and more and more, the more interested I get in Angers, and the more I feel like a sicko beyond my disease. Reims then hosts Ajaccio. Currently, Reims a 3/4 goal favorite. Over unders 2.25. Juice to the over. Ajaccio are going to go in there and try to restrict and not letting goals go in. I think until Ajaccio hits +1, I'm not interested. Over under 2.25, I lean to under there, though that's a really small total for a Reims side that's been playing really well. I still don't believe that they're a great goal scoring team. I think they're going to probably pretty likely to clean sheet. To get a clean sheet against Ajaccio, so I'll lean under 2.25 as my strongest one in that matchup. Want to see some movement there or see a +1, even though I feel like probably the total is probably more interesting to me. Toulouse then hosts Clermont Foot off a huge Coupe de France victory. Toulouse a 3/4 goal favorite. Juiced, I guess all the juices on Clermont Foot on the road. Over under is 2.5. Juice to the over. Toulouse are, I mean, they're hard to say what they are right now. They're a good offensive team, I guess, but it's not been going great at times for them. I think Clermont have not been able to score, though, and they're not going to be able to keep up with Toulouse, so that's a problem. I'm not really sure I have a feel for this one because one's an under team, one's an over team. Lyon then hosts Lorient. Currently, Lyon a 1-goal favorite coming off Coupe de France midweek, but they got to play the earliest match, I think, on Tuesday, so that's good for their legs. They can certainly score a lot more goals at home, but I don't really love them giving a full goal away to Lorient, who I think's offense is a lot better. I'm not sure it's back, but I think it's better. They're still going to play counterattacking style, especially on the road. I like Lorient getting that full goal of insurance. And last but not least, Stade Rennes are a pick 'em right now to Marseille. Currently, all the juice on Marseille on the road. I'm interested in Rennes as they climb to an underdog. Hopefully, over unders 2.75. Heavily juiced the under, which is surprising these two offenses, but Rennes haven't really been scoring much, so maybe not that surprising. I think where I sit with Rennes, they need to get Terrier back. I don't think that's happening. Their offense has been problematic, crashed out of penalties despite having a huge lead in. I mean, it's just tough everywhere going around right now for Rennes. They've been a lot better home team all season, including beating PSG there. Could certainly take another scalp in Marseille, though the line doesn't really say that they're going to do it. I think if this climbs to a quarter of a goal, I'll be more interested, but it's not there yet. So for my best bet in France, I'm going to go with Lille getting a quarter of a goal. So going to give a pregame.com promo code before we get into the ultimate best bet portion of the show. Use the promo code HEADER20, 20% off for all listeners of this podcast. Good for 7 days from podcast release. You can get anything on the site. College basketball stuff through me, soccer stuff through me. I'm trying to get everything out overnight, so you know what's coming out there. Also, my podcast host, college basketball wise, AJ Hoffman, got plenty of stuff. UFC, if you're into the fighting sort of stuff this weekend. Big card, UFC 285, John Bone Jones coming back. So there's my plug there. I can't say I know anything about what he does besides miss fights, it seems to me. So now it's time for the ultimate best bet portion of the show, betting pitch number 173. I'm your host, the real _ G Warner on Twitter and Instagram. For my best bet for England, I'm going to go Manchester United getting a quarter of a goal. From Spain, I'll go Rayo Vallecano, a quarter goal underdog at home. Salernitana, a quarter goal underdog in Serie A. In the German Bundesliga, I'll go Werder Bremen under 2 3/4 on the road at Augsburg. And from Ligue 1, I'll go Lille getting a quarter of a goal. But for my ultimate best bet, I'm going to go with Rayo Vallecano, quarter goal underdog at home in La Liga. They're hosting Atletico Bilbao, who are a good defensive side, not one known for scoring goals. Coming off a Copa del Rey loss midweek, really tough leg situation, going to a tough place to play in a really small, confined pitch, which plays really well to Rayo's kind of pesky attackers. I think there's going to be a counterattacking goal or just a lot of counterattacking in general. It doesn't look good for road favorite. So take Rayo Vallecano getting a quarter of a goal at home in Spain. And that'll do it for this episode of Betting the Pitch. Thank you for tuning in. Whether you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a 5-star review and I'll read it on the show. If you're on Twitter, hit the follow button, not the small one. Hit the follow button, the real _ G Warner. Hopefully I'll sound better for the next stage of podcast coming up next week. As always, thanks for listening, and let's go make some money, because we don't want to lose it. Let's make some. Talk to you guys soon.